You are listening to the Joe on Joe podcast, the only podcast where Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hey, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. I'm your host, Joe Slepsky, and with me this week is a special 2-for-1 episode. I've got two gentlemen in this room because we're going to tackle one of the more controversial episodes in fandom of G.I. Joe. It is called The Viper is Coming. And with me to kind of argue the pro side of The Viper is Mr. Matt Keil. Matt, say hello.
Hello.
Hello. And to argue not necessarily the con side.
All right, it has to win me over.
Mr. Kevin Umbricht.
Hey,
everybody.
And let's just note that the pro Viper side is starting at a disadvantage because several people involved in the episode, including Michael Bell, have apologized to the fandom for it.
Shut up.
I was at the screening of G.I. Joe the movie last year at the Egyptian Theater.
Yeah.
The double bill with Transformers the movie. The second time the G.I. Joe movie has ever been shown theatrically. And in the Q&A afterward, the first thing Michael Bell said was, first off, I'd like to apologize to all of you for that stupid Viper episode.
That absolutely not, he doesn't have to apologize to this
So I'm in that
broadcaster.
camp, but this is based on probably
But that
not,
also
not
puts
having
you on the
seen
same
this.
side as Michael Bell.
Okay, I'm cool with that.
So before we get into the details, for those listeners who don't recall the Viper, we're going to start with introducing our guest here. Matt Keil, you are a TV and video producer working out here in L.A.
Yeah.
You have worked previously on X-Play and G4, so if you have any video
Yep.
gamers out there familiar with that network and much missed
From in certain small
chunks.
cornered circles. Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. When did you start working there, or how'd you get involved in that?
I started working there at Tech TV in 2001, 2000. I was writing for them, and then I started producing for them, and then we started X-Play, because that was called Extended Play. That was when it was the previous show, and then we created X-Play in 2003, and then Comcast bought us and merged us with G4, and it was, you can lose your job or you can move to LA and keep doing it. So I moved to LA to keep doing it because we were up in San Francisco, and I was on that show for 12 years, and
Wow.
And then they shut G4 down, and that was the end of that. So I've been doing a lot of freelance. I've been doing stuff with Machinima and Sifted and Fusion and odd stuff.
Tell me about Sifted.
Sifted is the main thing I'm on right now. That is a site started by Shane Satterfield. It's sifted.net, SIFTD.net. And it's kind of an aggregate. It kind of sifts through. You put in your preferences, and it sifts through every video game story on the internet every day and delivers you sort of this feed of all the stuff that it thinks you're interested in.
Really?
So you don't have to comb through all the sites everywhere. And I do a weekly podcast with Shane, the founder of the site. You might know him from Game Trailers or Invisible Walls.
Awesome. What's the name of your podcast?
It's called Game Face. And it's on, you have to be a subscriber to Sifted to see the archive, but we do it live on Twitch every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Pacific. So you can watch that for free if you're interested.
That's so cool. And for those of you out there, you may not be familiar with Twitch. I think it's definitely growing in the last few years, but not a lot of people realize it's a source for broadcasting.
Oh, yeah. It's huge.
It's an online, primarily it's used for video game streaming.
Yeah.
But in the last year, maybe two, broadcasts about video games, about geek, nerd, pop culture.
Definitely. And they branched out almost exactly a year ago. They started a creative side, which was the flagship that launched that was a full marathon of every Bob Ross Joy of Painting episode.
Which I watched a bunch of.
Which they're about to do again.
Are they really?
Apparently it's going to be an annual thing, so they're about to start that again. I think maybe this week or next week. It's going to be very soon.
Is that why Netflix picked that up? Because of the popularity of that Twitch?
Probably.
There's been a Bob Ross renaissance because of the Twitch marathon. That all these people didn't even realize who he was. They thought he was live. They didn't, these kids, these millennials didn't know who Bob Ross was. Yeah. And they thought it was the greatest thing ever, because it is the greatest thing ever. And so now Bob Ross has this huge new following among people that were probably born after he died.
The world needs more happy little clouds.
Yeah.
It really does.
I fall asleep to Bob Ross at least 3 times a week because he has that perfect timbre of voice to help you ease out of being awake and into slumberland. It's wonderful.
In all seriousness, his ability to create a picture in 40 minutes is amazing. His craftsmanship with the the brushes and the what's like the little scraper.
Oh, yeah,
that he
the
would
knife.
use. The knife, yeah, is
Get that little
absolutely
roll of
It's a
paint.
specific technique that he uses. It's called like wet
on wet.
Wet on
Yes,
wet.
yeah. If you're listeners, if you're not familiar with Bob Ross, Google him. And
Go look it up right
As soon as
now.
you see him, you'll know that you've seen him before.
Oh, yeah.
and it's absolutely amazing. I loved watching it growing up, but it was you made fun of him, but as an adult, you're like, that guy's amazing.
Yeah, and then the best part about it is like when they, and I'll never say this about anything else, but it's the Twitch chat when it's live.
Oh yeah,
and it's like you see the early on when they first started doing it a year ago, like he does the thing where he paints this amazing thing where you're like, oh, that's just a bunch of blobs, and like all of a sudden it's a beautiful meadow.
Yeah.
And then he just draws a giant brown line down the middle of it because that's going to be a tree. And all the people in the chat are like, ruined, it's ruined, he ruined it. And then give him 5 minutes and it's perfect.
Yeah.
And that became like the whole thing was ruined. Like everything he does is ruined, and then he just makes it perfect. And like that's also the soothing part of Bob Ross is like, his whole there are no mistakes,
Yeah.
just happy accidents.
I love that.
And he turns everything
That's a
he
life
does.
philosophy.
It is.
It really is.
You learn a lot from Bob Ross.
You really do. And now, Kevin Umbricht, you are a video game producer,
Yes, I am.
and you're currently working on mobile games.
Yes.
Formerly, you did some Activision work.
This is correct. I worked on the Spider-Man franchise at Activision.
Awesome. Tell me about the mobile stuff that you're working on. Is there anything you can share?
Actually,
I know
we're
a lot
working
of
on
the
a big
stuff is
game
a
with
lot of the stuff's
a
secret.
big IP right now that's going to launch in a couple of months. But I work on free-to-play games, basically trying to get all types of people to play games, not just hardcore players, but also casual audience, and make games that connect with a bunch of people. I tend to go more core with my games, so lots of RPGs and things like that.
Any title you can share that you worked on, or
I can't really say right now.
Okay.
Because we got a big one coming out.
yeah.
soon.
Okay. I like
What
that.
about older ones,
Older ones?
like the Switch Spider-Man games?
Oh, for the Spider-Man games, I worked that little chunk between Web of Shadows and Amazing Spider-Man 1.
That's such a great series of games.
Web of Shadows is my favorite Spider-Man game of all time.
Yeah. That's Web of Shadows was the one with Venom
Yeah,
and Wolverine on the
symbiotes,
cover.
yeah,
symbiotes on the cover.
Yeah, symbiotes
it's-
take over the city. It's
a
a
great
big open
game.
world thing.
If you swing around the city long enough, you might see me as a pedestrian in that game,
Oh yeah.
where you can bump into and interact with.
Okay, so I want to know when this big IP mobile game comes out. I want to have you back on the show. Maybe because I know you're a big fan of Cold Slither. So maybe hopefully Cold Slither will land right around that time, and maybe we'll get you back on and talk about that, and we'll get a plug-in for your new game.
That sounds good. Maybe we can do a live performance of the song somehow.
OMG, that would be amazing. Now, Kevin, we can find you on Instagram at The Flower Monger. Now, that's a name because you've got a kind of a side hobby. You're looking to branch out into a new business, correct?
Yeah. Basically, my personal art style is floral arranging and floral design.
Love it.
So
I love it.
It's a very random thing for everyone who knows me, but it's this wonderful. I've been working on screenplays for years and much larger projects, and then I was never quite completing a lot of things. So I found that with floral design, it's a very short burst sculptural creative project. So it fulfilled a lot of the things that I've been missing for a long time as an artist.
That's fantastic. I love it. So you can see some of his floral designs at The Flower Monger. Matt, we can find you on Twitter at mkeil, MKEIL.
Yep.
And Sifted is actually sifted.net, SIFTD. There's no E.
Right.
.net.
Very Web 2.0, 3.0.
Nice. I like that.
Oh, maybe I should remove the vowels from my Twitter, my Instagram.
Yeah.
Well, that would make
Blurmonger.
you you might look like you're the floor manager. I'm the floor manager, everybody.
A perfect segue to this episode.
Gentlemen, we'll start with Matt. When did you find G.I. Joe? How old were you?
Oh, I would have been 8? No. 6.
6.
Would have been 8.
Cartoon first or toy?
Cartoon. Because it was right alongside Transformers, because I'm more of a Transformers guy.
You are a huge Transformers nut.
But I like G.I. Joe because, G.I. Joe and Transformers, I think, always aired right next to each
Back
other.
to back.
Listen, my theory...
It's the Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy.
And they are in the same universe.
They're in the same universe, and my theory early on is Cobra powers the mass device with not transformium, but one of the
Energon.
Yeah, I'm sorry. One of the elements that the Cobra uses to power the mass
Hard
device.
water?
has to be no, not the hard water, the meteorite that falls into the into the lava, into the volcano.
Yeah.
Because there had to be another meteorite, because the one they show you getting in the episode is the second one they got. So where did the other one come from? My theory is it came from the mountain that the Transformers crashed in. And what does the mass device do? But it moves matter throughout time and space. And what do the Transformers do? They shift matter when they transform, and they also teleport space bridges.
Space bridge, yeah.
And we know they're in the same universe. So my theory is that meteorite that they pulled out of the volcano is actually Energon/Transformium/ some kind of Cybertronian element.
Well, I think it's just Rom the Space Knight.
I wish it would be Rom the Space Knight.
Because that's part, right?
Yeah. Well, it is now.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. IDW bringing it all together.
Kevin, how old were you?
Same. Matt and I are the same age.
Yeah.
84, right?
84,
Yes,
yeah.
when it came on.
Real American Hero was a little sooner than that, but I didn't know of them until 84, I think, when the cartoons
the
hit.
first miniseries was 83. The second miniseries was a year later in 84. And then the show itself, which started with the third miniseries, was 85. But then it rolled immediately into 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So they did the miniseries.
Because the first Transformers miniseries was a 3-parter, and that was, like, I think November 84? It was the end of 84. Because most of 84 I was into GoBots. And then Transformers showed up, and that was the end of that. Like it was.
You didn't continue the love for GoBots?
No. But I had like a shift into the G.I. Joe phase for a while that didn't last too long. Yeah. But like I always watched the show.
Aren't GoBots combined now with Transformers?
Hasbro
brought them. Yeah.
Hasbro
owns them. Periodically in comics or certain cartoons, you'll see a Transformer like kill a GoBot. there's most famously there's a IDW comic called Megatron Origin, which tells the story of his days in the gladiator pits before the war, when he became a philosopher who ended up starting a movement that started the war. The IDW Transformers comics are fantastic.
They really
just
are.
So you know.
Yeah.
But I think the second issue, the third issue, it just jumps right at the end of one of his gladiatorial matches, and it's just him ripping Psykill in half.
At least it's Psykill, though.
Yeah. So you see that. I should know that right now there's I think Bandai is doing what are basically masterpiece GoBots right now.
Really?
In Japan, they're Machine Robo, obviously, but they are about 5 inches tall, and they are phenomenal. Like, imagine I mean, I know it's kind of like removing their primary characteristic, but imagine GoBots that don't suck. That's basically what these are. They're incredible.
That's Transformers.
I'll say this: the Leader One they just came out with that, the best plane mode I have ever seen in a toy,
really?
A transforming toy. There is no robot junk on the bottom at all. Like you might confuse it for an actual just diecast.
Wow.
Like,
are
plane.
these available in the States at all?
If you import them,
Yeah.
like you go to like Big Bad Toy Store, TF Source, or one of those places.
So today's episode is the Viper, and for those Vipers coming, for those listeners who have not yet seen this, it is it's played more for laughs. It's got some fun action in it.
It's what you call a shaggy dog story.
Shaggy dog story, exactly. Explain that to the listeners.
That's where you tell a very, very long joke that has a really dumb punchline. It's usually a bad pun, which is in fact what happens.
What happens with the Viper? I'm conflicted of whether or not to spoil it for you listeners now, but just know that
the pun is on the word coming.
The pun is in the word coming. Absolutely. So without any further ado, gentlemen, we're going to get into The Viper is Coming. We were at the Long Beach Comic Con recently, and I had the pleasure of meeting the voice of Duke, Bell, right?
Michael Bell.
Michael Bell, yeah. And I asked him what he thought about how in the opening credits they have his voice coming out of
Flint.
Yeah. And they laughed about it, and they're like, yeah, Bill Ratner probably gets residuals on that to this day.
I never even realized that.
Neither did I until watching these. But yeah, it's totally Duke's voice. We've not done the G.I. Joe movie yet, of course. But as two Joe experts in the room here, how great is the opening credit sequence to that movie?
The opening credits to the G.I. Joe the movie is the best thing Sunbow ever did.
Yes, absolutely.
Even as a Transformers fan, I'm like, if I were ever to direct a live-action G.I. Joe movie, I would open it with a live-action shot-for-shot remake of that scene.
So great. It's
like,
so great.
Total Statue of Liberty size inaccuracies be damned.
So we've got The Viper is Coming, written by David Karen.
A very prolific writer, I might add.
Really?
He,
what else do you know
Is
from?
this barbecue out of costume?
Yeah,
Yeah.
barbecue out of costume. So we'll open real quick. I'm going to find out more about David Karen, but we open with barbecue. They're in Boston, and he's got his own firehouse. It's like the Ghostbusters firehouse,
and he's barbecuing inside.
He's barbecuing. Well, listen,
the
if
real
fire
world
starts, how
Boston?
What's
Didn't
that?
the real world Boston take place in a? Yeah.
And he's got a bunch of Joes over for a big party. And they even invited the green shirts. Snake Eyes is dancing with his grenades. He brought his grenades to a barbecue, which is great.
Of course.
Gung
Gung-ho with the hat off.
Yeah. Footloose and Alpine are rappelling from the second floor.
And I just want to note, like, this really kind of makes out these, like, highly trained military specialists to be kind of idiots in terms of what they're apparently they don't like function in normal society very well because like they don't understand how not to ruin a man's house.
That is true. Okay, Roadblock went face first through a plate glass window. His arm didn't go now.
And at least the second floor.
Yeah. Before we go,
Like you didn't test for that.
before we go any further, I want to point out, guys.
Climbing expert.
Here's something, Matt. You said you rewatched this. Did you catch that barbecue just set us up for the pun of the joke of the episode?
Yeah, about I don't have to clean that window. Yeah,
when Roadblock goes through the window, and I never
Yeah.
caught that. And all the times I watched it until this time.
Hello? Mr. Barbecue, this is the Viper. The Viper?
There it is. This is the Viper.
I couldn't have heard you right. What'd
This
you
is the
say?
strangest interpretation of a Boston accent I've
It's
ever heard. By the way,
insane. Matt, where are you from originally?
San Francisco.
San Francisco. So we got San Francisco, Connecticut, and Chicago. Does this sound like Boston to any of our ears?
No, it's like, well, see?
23 Skidoo.
He's got a little bit of Boston in him, but it's more like more Peter Lorre.
Yeah,
They're telling
definitely.
us where their next
I
big
thought Cutter
attack
was
will be.
from
But they
Boston.
think we won't figure out the
Cutter?
code.
I
Maybe he is
think-
too. He wears
yeah,
the
I
Red
think-
Sox
Yeah.
hat,
Oh, no,
right?
Cutter's definitely from Boston.
Scarlett and Lady J are rocking the same lipstick in this episode. I might
They
add.
really are. Don't forget to take a burger with ya.
Those
And
don't
Snake
look
Eyes,
like
Snake Eyes,
burgers.
how are you going to eat that
They look
burger
like
without
little
grossing?
Subway sandwiches.
How are you going to eat that burger without grossing everybody out,
The
Snake Eyes?
Viper is coming.
They're really betting on the enemy for coming from that direction.
So the phone call said the Viper is coming 575, and Lady J's got it in her head that it's a coordinates. So they check out what would like 5 degrees and 75 degrees, 5 by 75 mean, and it's somewhere in
Surely it would have
Antarctica.
to be the South Pole. They must know how I hate
It does
cold
make me
weather.
think.
Also,
where
He's from
would-
Boston. Why
He's
does
from
he hate
Boston.
cold
Why is he
weather?
afraid of cold?
Right.
Yeah, like he should be the expert on
And
cold.
why should he even go on this mission then? Shouldn't they just send? Where's Frostbite?
Where's Snow Job?
Where's Snow Job?
Why did she open the cockpit to stand up and that's clear? You can just look through that with your binoculars.
Remember the toy? It was yellow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they send only the Joes that were at the barbecue. They don't actually put together a special mission force. It's like, wait, you were at this
highly
barbecue?
trained special
Yeah,
mission.
you were at this barbecue? We're just going to send you directly from the barbecue. So Alpine finds a very phallic-looking object stuck in the snow, like frosted over. And as he tugs on the phallic object, a lift appears, and the snowcat carrying barbecue, gung ho, and was that Scarlett or J? It's Lady J. It kind of Drake takes them down, and they get entered into a deep underground base where there's a giant robot,
But like a Robbie the Robot.
total Robbie
friendly
the
robot. He's
friendly
smiling.
robot.
And further proof that Cobra Vipers don't take the masks off for anything.
Anything. It's like Burt Reynolds and his hat. Like I take it off for 2 things, and apparently none of this is one of those 2 things.
In the Zartan Entertainment Center.
So guys,
Tonight we feature
here's my thought on this.
The Cobra Cuties dancing tonight.
Yeah.
This Cobra is an astoundingly large
Thank you.
organization.
That's exactly
Like,
what I was just going
Apparently
to
it's
say.
also a cruise line.
This episode.
Oh, this is gonna hurt.
This
ever get
episode
hit by a
tells me
Pool ball.
that Cobra is everywhere.
Oh yeah.
This is actually a frightening. He should never have apologized for this episode because it creates a bleak portrait that you throw a rock and you're gonna hit a Cobra
yeah.
base.
Also, let's not forget, Antarctica is technically international territory, which means that they are probably committing a crime by trespassing on this.
The Joes
location.
or Cobra?
The Joes.
Oh, really? Because Cobra
I don't know
stakes it
who
out?
has jurisdiction here. Is
Yeah.
what I mean, maybe the fact that Cobra is an internationally recognized terrorist organization would give them a pass on that. Also, because G.I. Joe never gets in trouble for anything in
Yeah.
the show. But Also, this
Barbe-
guy. Who's this guy, and
That
why did he never
dude
come back?
Is such a stereotype, like recreation manager of this Cobra, like break palace. Of course, we get into a little bit of a laser fight, which is fun.
Yeah.
I think the animation looks great in this.
And let's not
episode.
forget,
fire bats are cool. We don't see those in action a lot.
Look how fast they were ready for action. Cobra's like on point here, even when they're these are my favorite dumb GI Joe.
Yes,
equipment.
the missile skis.
Because why wouldn't you just shoot a missile at those?
Snowpedos. Snowpedos. They're so great. Well, you know what? And I'll tell you why. Because they'll go over mountains. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they'll go over, like, mountainous terrain.
Hope they don't hit a
believe it when I see it.
Also, I never noticed this until I watched this again the other day before we did the show. Everything Ace says in this is card game related. It's all poker
he does.
stuff, and I
Totally
never
does.
noticed that as a kid. That because his name is Ace, so everything he does is like.
Well, that's on his file card that he's a shark.
that really?
He's a
Okay.
shark at poker. Yeah.
Looks like Cobra stealing from the bottom of the deck.
Some nice like POV shots of the fire bats fighting the Sky Strikers. It's a fun air battle. Like, this is exciting. Like, there's nothing to apologize for here. The snow serpents look great too.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty diverse battle here in terms of like participants and vehicles, and they didn't screw anything up.
No.
I mean, this is an animation company that couldn't get the color of the same Transformers jet from shot to shot.
Yeah. Did you guys? Oh, that was Spirit showed up for a quick second in that animation. Did either of you guys have the Snowcat or any like the snow vehicles or anything? I had the Snowcat and the Battle Bear, and the Snowcat was so great. Like, I would use it. They would go on desert operations with the Snowcat.
I will say this Snowpedo is probably one of my few memories of the old toy commercials, because that was just the weirdest idea. Like, it's a striking visual.
Glad you guys could make it.
So the Joes bust back into the base, and they're basically filing everyone away. And the message seems to make sense to Miss Scarlet.
What do you mean, Scarlet?
Think about it, guys.
She thinks a little
Why would
deeper.
Cobra
Let's
send
listen.
us a message that leads us right to one of their own R&R bases?
Send you a
It's an
message.
R&R base?
We would never send you a message. You spoil sports.
But if Cobra didn't send that message, then who did?
Okay, so they all went back to the firehouse, and now the Viper calls again.
Yeah, they're waiting around for the Viper call like it's some kind of ransom.
Missed corner.
So we go into commercial with the tension of the Viper coming.
G.I. Joe will return after these messages.
Today's Filecard Feature is on the G.I. Joe Mortar Soldier, codenamed Short Fuse. His file name is Eric W. Freistadt, and his primary military specialty is the artillery, with his secondary military specialty being the infantry engineer. Birthplace? Good old Chicago, Illinois, and he's a grade E4. Now, Short Fuse comes from a military family. Both his father and grandfather were top sergeants for their career. He enjoys abstract mathematics and can plot artillery azimuths and triangulations in his head. Specialized education, he's in the artillery school, the engineer school, advanced infantry training. He's also a qualified expert in the M14, the M16, the M1911A1, the M79 grenade launcher, the M2 light mortar, and the M1 medium mortar. Quote, Short Fuse is logical and sensitive, yet he has a tendency to blow his stack, hence the nickname Short Fuse. Short Fuse is one of the original Joes, so he's got that full-body green camo look, but he's actually not in camo. It's just the green, olive green drab outfit that a lot of the early figures had. He's got a tan vest or webbing across his chest, and he's got the red collar on his neck. He actually did wear glasses, too, which was strange for a field operative. Blonde hair, and he came with a toy that was the portable mortar, which was pretty neat. Not used quite a lot at all in either the show or the comic book. Rarely name-checked, I think. I can't think of any memorable comic book adventures with Short Fuse. But you know what? Eric Freistadt, you're from Chicago. You're a blonde. We like all that. And guess what? You're one of the original Joes. So Eric W. Freistadt, Short Fuse, we salute you.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
See, this is why I think that's an interesting episode, because normally, as you've pointed out, the commercial breaks because of gravity.
Right.
Because something's falling or someone's falling or something. In this, it's entirely about the plot situation.
I agree.
They're leaning completely on the story, which the series rarely does.
I agree 100%. There's actual tension. Kevin, how are you holding up in this?
I'm actually deeply engrossed in this because now they're at West Point, so I'm trying to figure out the relationship between the U.S. government and the U.S. military and G.I. Joe at this stage.
Okay.
Because are they looking for recruits?
Well, the last clue led them to West Point. So
they because West Corner could be West Point because corner is a point.
Exactly. So that's why they're there, and it happens
But
to be during the graduation. Now, this is another reason why I love this episode of what happens here at West Point, where you get another battle, but it's not just the Joes. The West Point cadets and all the other branches of the military join in here, and I think that's really cool. Why Cobra is attacking West Point, I don't know.
Because they want to. Major Blood just said it. They want to capture a bunch of the senators and high-ranking brass,
okay.
so that they can hold them hostage.
Thank you for paying attention. Major Blood, by the way, very underused on this show.
Yeah.
They don't use him as much as they should. I think
Also,
Zartan kind of serves his purpose.
The
in a lot of
tactics
episodes.
here. So the tanks are running straight at the stands with the brass in them. G.I. Joe's chasing them behind it. You don't fire at the tanks because if you miss the tanks, you're going to hit the people you're trying to protect.
Yes.
Well, they know the tanks are just going to hit themselves.
Right.
So.
Correct. And it's tanks versus Ostrikers, and Ostrikers are dune buggies.
Yes. However,
so I don't know why tanks are running from the Ostrikers.
Well, especially because tanks tend to be less armored in the back, so you'd want to turn them around.
Correct.
However, as we'll see in a second here, the tactics here that G.I. Joe uses, not bad.
Yeah.
They hit the treads.
They do. They throw Roadblock throws a grenade, blows the tread off, and it
causes a huge 5-tank pile up. Because you roll tank single file.
Because G.I. Joe,
G.I.
Joe is like the Empire Strikes Back Atari 2600 game. All you got to do is cripple the first AT-AT, and then the rest
everything
of them
just runs into it. Yeah. And now they've got them circled, and they're just sort of like harassing them, and they've got them contained. Like it's actually really good tactics. But the tires aren't laser proof.
No, they're not. Usually, what's funny is when you see like a tank movie, like that movie Fury or
he got out.
Usually, it's the good guys that are trapped in the middle, and the bad guys are circling them like this. So
it's a very
let's make Cobra great again, and the Joes are just oppressors, really.
Yeah,
right. A couple of the Ostrikers get knocked out. Scarlet's on one of them, and she is about to get popped by a Cobra soldier. Turns out, here comes the cadets.
Good work, cadets. Thanks.
See,
Our pleasure, ma'am.
that's really cool. Like they portray, and I'm part of my ignorance is West Point. Is that naval? Is that Marine? Do you know what West or Army?
I want to say that's Army, but
Is it Army?
I don't know for sure.
Yeah, but either way, they portray the West Point graduates and cadets and everything really strong. In this,
yeah,
which is neat.
Not that they're helping Scarlet here, but now they're in.
Yeah, now they're in. There you go. It's like the end of Animal House with lasers.
Are our tax dollars paying for G.I. Joe?
Yes, they are.
The opening narration says America's daring highly trained fishermen.
Right.
So I guess
look
is
at
it
her
like
face.
the Green Berets? Is it are these West Point cadets? Is it aspirational for them to go to G.I. Joe?
In the comic books, the G.I. Joe is funded by a group called the Jugglers. So they're a separate line item on the defense budget line. And they pull from all branches of the armed forces. And when you join the Joes, in some versions of it, you die. Like they fake your death kind of thing. We got a great little standoff here.
And note that the West Point cadets actually have real guns.
Yeah.
So, that's probably... Yeah. Bullets versus lasers, I think you're taking... you don't want to take the bullet.
That's great.
Listen to what happens here. So Scarlet just said, this day's been too... Is this all supposed to be one day? They went to Antarctica and back, and then the West Point.
I'll give them this. Probably just that day at West Point was too much. But I will ask this.
But he said, I've had it with phones today.
Hello.
Oh my God.
I think this is all supposed to be in 1 24-hour period.
I also want to question the marketing. Although maybe it's actually genius. Because usually, you want to get your whole sales pitch across when you call someone, which we're going to commercial with, as you pointed out earlier, another great tension builder.
the wickedest weapon yet, you know. Rattler's gonna get G.I. Joe.
Introducing the Cobra Rattler.
Check my missiles! Rattler's gonna stop Joe!
G.I. Joe, American hero.
It's Rattlers!
G.I. Joe is there.
We're outnumbered! That belongs! No, Joe!
Cobra Rattler comes with pilot. Other G.I. Joe and Cobra figures and equipment sold separately from Hasbro. Now back to G.I. Joe.
This time it's psychological tension.
It is psychological tension. Usually when you call with, you want to make sure people understand, like, hey, we're having a show down at the Civic Center this Sunday, July 23rd, blah, blah, blah. This guy's calling to let you know, like, one piece of information at a time. I am coming in July. Click. On a Tuesday. Click. Click. Spit it out. So now the team is at Extensive Enterprises.
The tallest building in the world.
Tallest building in the world. Which Snake Eyes there, he's got a sword on him. Looks sweet. It is home to the Crimson Twins, Tomax and Zaymot, as we all know.
And at this point, Destro, the Cobra thinks something's going on. They know something's up.
They think Major Blood is selling them out. So Destro, their office is, the Crimson Twins' office is trash. So they think they just got in a huge fight with the Crimson Twins.
Say no more, or I will suspect
because Destro trusts no one.
Oh, come now. Do you have any idea of all
Well, he just said, if you do this, I'll suspect you too.
Yeah.
Which means he didn't suspect them before. So why did he rip their...
No, I think Major Blood got in the fight. I think they weren't trusting Major Blood. And the fight was Major Blood fighting them. So that means Major Blood can take on 3 dudes before getting subdued, which I like.
He lost his helmet. That's about it.
Yeah. He lost an eye and a helmet. Now, the show has a rich history of when we get into Extensive Enterprises, at some point, someone is going to be climbing the outside of the building.
That is the worst layout.
It's a terrible layout. It looks like a bingo card. Extensive Enterprises, the building, always has someone crawling or climbing on the outside.
Yes.
And maybe because what we just saw in that elevator, maybe that's why.
Yeah.
The elevators have poison gas in them. Zartan
Well
is in
played.
disguise for no reason as the guard. Does that mean he hangs out there?
I guess. What else does he do?
Just disguised as people? What happened to the original guard?
There was no original guard.
So
That's a Cobra front. The whole thing is a Cobra front.
Okay.
That's what Zartan does when he doesn't have anything else to do.
Once again, Fang helicopters fly out the side of this giant building. How this building is allowed to stay in business, I don't know.
Can't prove anything.
We're overlooking. Yeah, it's true. We're overlooking the fact that when it first appeared, it split into 2 and launched a rocket into space. That's always been retconned a little bit. But Snakes and Scarlet and Barbecue, they were gassed. But now
Scarlet with a rare southern accent slip there.
She's showing her roots, man. Atlanta, Georgia. Destro wants to get down to the bottom of this Viper business.
As do we all.
Yeah.
That's a nice POV
It's a
shot
very nice
there.
POV.
Cobra Command. Or
Yeah.
what was that?
Cobra Command.
Was that the full motion animated video game? Was that?
Yeah.
Cobra Command. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Cobra Command, I think.
Yeah.
It was one of the Laserdisc games.
Yeah. The shadows on this episode and like the colors are super rich. Like when they do those close-ups, like they just did Wild Bill there earlier, there was a really nice one of Lady J. That's, for me, that's the hallmark of whoever did whatever team was responsible for this animation on this episode. That's their top team.
And
like that's their A game.
Let's just note that happened because the Fang just randomly fired directly at its own
Snake
building.
Eye, yeah. Well, Cobra soldiers. Snake Eyes just did a sweet like palm strike. And look at that. And look how good Snake Eyes looks. He's really hard to get to look good, right? Because he's technically in all black, but they kind of do him purple and everything. And very rarely do they do all of his belts and accoutrement, right?
Yeah. And here we have Alpine and Footloose free climbing a building with a rope and no other safety equipment.
Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. There's always someone climbing on the outside of Extensive Enterprises. What is going on with this? Why does everyone look at this building and decide this is the building we need to climb up or jump out of?
Like, what's the plan here? Like, what are they doing this for?
I don't know where they're going, but their rope just got cut. And Fang gets knocked out of the air by Wild Bill. There's also the long running, and whenever Wild Bill shows up, he saves the day. Wild Bill never fails.
Right.
Wild Bill is the cavalry.
So why isn't he on the front line to begin with?
Only because he's too valuable. He's too
Yeah.
busy. He's busy on his ranch.
He's air cav.
He's air cav.
Well, he's probably saving each and every one of these tiny Joe teams that are spread around.
I think you're right.
Somewhere, Spirit and Bazooka.
There they go. Footloose and Alpine just swing through a window, Bruce Willis Die Hard style.
Can someone somewhere please use cover? The end of this battle is
Wakanda.
There's all just like standing there shooting with no cover, no.
Yeah.
We've already established that the lasers don't hurt. He just went, ow, when he got shot in the hand. It's not like it cauterized a wound or anything. It's just great.
How great was that?
Kind of hurt.
They surrendered, but Zartan just blended into the wall to escape.
And
He's not going down
presumably
with
is
his crew.
still just standing there.
So they're still stumped as to who the Viper is. So back to the firehouse. They're all waiting patiently by the phone, by the red Batman-esque phone.
Longest day ever, man.
It really is a long day.
Even Duke.
Duke's there now.
Yeah,
All
well,
right.
Listen, the top hat's got to show up.
Hello? This is the Viper.
Finally.
I be there noon today. Be ready.
See? He finally gets enough of his message out so you know exactly where to expect him. The Joes are lined up in force. Everyone, they've got
everybody.
The laser cannon, the
Sandbags.
sandbags. They've got like every toy out of the toy box set up around the firehouse waiting
Not
for
a single person on the roof.
this dude.
Barbecue. I'm Barbecue. I'm the Viper. I've come to wipe your windows. 575 and
Geriatric
I start on west
Mexican?
corner. Top
Well, he must be
Window washers.
German.
German? Is he German?
If he's gonna say
but look
W
at,
is
I
a
mean,
V.
Is that German?
Yeah.
Window washer. This whole episode has been a pun on Wiper versus Viper.
Yep.
And that's the punchline.
Yeah. But as you say, the fact that every single thing he said translated accurately into a Cobra plot says a whole lot about this world.
It really does. They live in a Cobra dystopia.
Oh, for sure.
Cobra must be everywhere.
Like, the implication to me is like Cobra's going to win.
Right?
They have the resources.
This is the
Yeah.
precursor to that episode where they go in the alternate dimension and G.I. Joes have lost.
Yeah.
This episode started that downward spiral.
Except 6 Joes can take out
True.
100.
True. But, I mean,
But
that's
you got to wonder how are they recruiting all those Vipers? Hundreds and hundreds.
And they recruit them, and then there were hundreds on leave.
Yeah.
It's not even like the on leave.
Yeah.
Like the on leave. The R&R guys, usually, let's say you have 100 people, maybe 10 of them go on R&R at a time.
Also, like,
there
when
were
they-
hundreds on R&R, meaning they had 10,000s of Cobra soldiers.
And also when they walk in, like the announcement thing says it's like R&R facility number 5 or
Correct.
something. It's like
Yeah.
there's a lot of these.
So, Kevin Umbricht, you were previously on the side of Cornball, I think. Not to put a word in your mouth.
Still on that side.
Still on that side.
Still on that side.
Did not change your mind at all.
No, look, it ties nicely within its own joke, but still, I'm left kind of feeling dirty at the end.
Dirty.
It's a pretty good excuse for some rather strongly animated action sequences, even if they don't really hang together properly.
Has there ever been a Comic-Con exclusive of the Viper?
Oh my God.
You know,
we
there
need
should.
this.
If there hasn't
should
been,
be.
how has there not been?
There should be.
That's
We
brilliant.
need to write to Hasbro immediately on
That
this.
must have happened. That's
No,
too obvious.
I'll bet you no one's ever made a Viper.
Probably not.
Actually,
that would
custom,
require
maybe-
like a new mold.
Someone done a custom one, maybe.
Maybe.
I love it. Well, listen, guys. I'm sorry we couldn't sway you.
I was
love this. I've
thoroughly
always loved
entertained
this
though
episode.
while we did this.
Always loved
mostly
this
by
episode.
your guys' commentary and not the episode. I was a little bit quiet during this because I was trying to pay attention to just
The
make
nuance.
sense of the entire thing. No dice.
Well, guys, thank you so much. Matt, we can find you at Matt Keil, Mkeil. And again, it's sifted.net, SIFTD.net. Kevin, you're at The Flowermonger on Instagram. And listeners, if you're so inclined, you follow me on Instagram at JoeandJoePod, at JoeandJoePod@gmail.com if you want to send me a email. And find me on Facebook. And if you're so inclined, leave me a review on iTunes. Let me know what you think. And we're happy to hear you come back each and every week on Joe on Joe. Gentlemen, thank you so much. This was very exciting. And now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.